An ex-WWE faction set to invade AEW soon? The real reason for an AEW loss? Top AEW stars gone for a while? And more. I'm Ollie Davis, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
For some, Saturday's AEW All-Out pay-per-view crossed a line of taste, running not just one, but two attempted murder angles, as Jon Moxley put a plastic bag over Bryan Danielson's head, and Hangman Page drugged Swerve Strickland and whacked a chair over his skull. But hold wrestling's attempted murder beer, because Mystery Wrestling X just had a match end via future death. Mystery Wrestling X, ran by AEW's Evil Uno, had a death match on their most recent show between London Lightning and Cecil Nix, where one of them had to literally die for the other to win. But when Lightning was about to kill Cecil, his time-travelling future self burst through the curtain, who looked a lot like other wrestler RJ City, and told him not to commit murder because it will create a tragic dystopian future. Think that nightmare scene from Batman vs Superman. To stop it from happening, future London then drank poison to kill himself, which meant Cecil won because a version of London Lightning had died. Which prompted this Looper-esque memorial graphic in memory of London Lightning from 2003 to 2029 to 2016 to 2024. This is wrestling. This is wrestling. This is wrestling. This is wrestling. You can check out Mystery Wrestling X on the link in the video description below. It kind of makes all other wrestling booking feel mundanely normal, like the angle AEW did where they had a wrestler lose because of unresolved contract negotiations. According to a boo of wrestle purists, Daniel Garcia was originally supposed to beat MJF clean at All Out. That's what I predicted going into the show, as Garcia was a returning vengeful babyface that would have been really helped by a big win, and Max could use his kayfabe neck injury as an excuse. But then MJF won via low-blow shenanigans. This was reportedly because Garcia's current contract expires in October, and he still hasn't signed a new deal. He was previously written off TV in July from an MJF beatdown angle in case he didn't re-sign, but was brought back at All In 2 weeks ago to cost Max his American Championship because he was expected to commit long-term. In a good sign for him staying in AEW though, Garcia is being advertised on the recently announced shows for October and November. Following his loss, Garcia did get a lot of his heat back by giving Max a second rope piledriver, getting to indulge in his MJF neck-breaking fetish. His words, not mine. But this wasn't just AEW hedging their bets, giving MJF the win but keeping Garcia looking strong if he decides to re-sign. Wrestle Purists is also reporting that Max is leaving to film a movie, so he needed to be written off TV with an injury angle. The Wrestling Observer corroborated this and added another big AEW name set to take time off. Swerve Strickland, who has been planned for a vacation since he signed his new contract, which happened at All In 2 weeks ago. Both were expected to be gone for a while, which opens up room at the top of the card for some new business. Following Bobby Lashley and MVP's WWE contracts expiring last month, Wrestle Purists is reporting it is possible that their beloved Hurt Business faction will be reuniting in AEW soon. Because their contracts expired rather than them getting released by WWE, they aren't subject to any 90-day non-compete clauses and can show up for any other wrestling promotion when they want. And speaking at the KNS WrestleFest, MVP teased just that, along with their other Hurt Business faction mate Shelton Benjamin, who WWE released late last year. The Hurt Business is dead, and it was killed off by the powers that be at WWE. But I can say this, myself, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin, we're talking amongst ourselves about what we want to do going forward. I'll just say, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Me, Bobby, and Shelton have been talking about what we want to do, and again, I'll say, stay tuned. MVP saying the Hurt Business is dead is most likely in name only. That's a WWE trademark, and the group is expected to be called the Hurt Syndicate when they next show up, a phrase MVP recently filed to trademark, which will have all the wrestlers you remember: Bobbles, MVP, Benjamin. And that's it. There was nobody else in the Hurt Business. MVP noted in that same appearance that he believes the fourth Hurt Business member, Cedric Alexander, has now re-signed with WWE. Fightful Select then confirmed this, revealing a new deal was actually agreed months ago and is for a multi-year contract. MVP is, by his own admission, a tad salty on how WWE treated the Hurt Business in the Paul Levesque era because, he revealed, they were explicitly told they were going to be reunited on screen. WWE even had merchandise made with the Hurt Business logo on the front and the phrase, "back in business," on the back. It's on the back for back in business. But then, next thing I see, Bobby is with the Street Profits. What happened here? I get a call from Bruce Pritchard. Somebody should have called you. Sorry, we decided we're going in a different direction. What the f*** is that? That's not professional. Needless to say, I was very salty about that. We had Bobby going from a two-time WWE champion to not being in the conversation or in the title picture at all. Got put with the Street Profits, who were white hot, and they got called off. The Street Profits went from being major figures to sitting in catering. I don't know why. I don't understand it, but I don't make decisions in that way. What do you think went wrong with Bobby Lashley under Triple H? Let me know in the comments because I'll be replying to people from outer saying his sisters. That's the faction everyone wants. Bobby Lashley and his beautiful sisters. Famed t-shirt company AEW will surely be eyeing up those back in business merch slogans. But in the meantime, they've had a surprise success with one of their undercard acts. According to WrestleNomics estimates, 80s throwback act The Outrunners, who got their first ever win on AEW TV on last Friday's Collision, are currently 8th in the company's top 10 merchandise sellers, outselling current AEW World Champion Bryan Danielson and former champion Swerve Strickland and Samoa Joe. Which is great. AEW are building a new tag team act. That's great. There's nothing else to do with this story. Oh wait, just one more thing. The success might actually betray a failing in famed t-shirt company AEW. One frequent criticism over the years, which I experienced firsthand at both All-In shows in London, is that the promotion, for some reason, sells hardly any wrestler-specific merchandise at their live events. The vast majority are AEW branded. That the Outrunners are outselling Danielson and Swerve might be indicative of a poor merchandise strategy as much as it is a success for the tag team. Speaking of supporting stuff you watch, segue. We have a Patreon, don't you know? Over the last year, our YouTube revenue has fallen and our costs have gone up. Not a fun combination, so we really need your support to keep making the shows you watch. Tables, Lists and Shares, for instance, we love it. The views suggest you love it too. Loses us money every time we put one out. That's why we're making more exclusive videos to go on our Patreon. Like right now, if you go over there to support us from $6.50 a month, you can get a brand new exclusive episode of Tables, Lists and Shares of us counting down the best WWE wrestlers to never win a world title. Please go to patreon.com/WrestleTalk to support WrestleTalk. With 3/4 of the Hurt Business potentially on their way to AEW, what about an act that recently left AEW on their way to WWE? Both Matt and Jeff Hardy left AEW when their contracts expired earlier this year and quickly returned to TNA, where Matt claims they have creative lined up there through the end of this year. But the Hardy Boys might be one of the most bounced around acts in modern wrestling, where in his 30-year career, Jeff has gone from the WWF to Ring of Honor to TNA, back to WWE, back to TNA, back to Ring of Honor, back to WWE again, to AEW, and then back to TNA for a third time. So it's unsurprising that Matt has also revealed on his podcast, with WWE, there's still been some ongoing conversation with WWE. So yeah, anything can happen in the extreme life of Matt Hardy. TNA currently has a working relationship with NXT, but the Hardy Boys are yet to have jumped through that prohibitive portal. Or maybe they could return to AEW Shockwave. AEW filed for a new trademark last Friday, AEW Shockwave, for wrestling show purposes, prompting speculation they will be launching yet another TV program. When asked about this at the All Out Media Scrum, Tony Khan gave a typical non-answer. Somehow mostly spoke about how many tickets they sold for All Out. Interestingly though, the Wrestling Observer has mentioned that AEW aren't just in talks with WBD about a new deal for the likes of Dynamite and Collision, and that a new show called Shockwave could be on another network. This is very similar to how WWE have handled their TV rights, who have hedged their bets across multiple broadcast partners, from the traditional TV stations like the CW to the streaming giant Netflix. Before Raw moves to Netflix on January 6th, though, the platform will premiere its Mr. McMahon docuseries on the 25th of September. The show, first announced back in 2020, has had to undergo multiple reshoots because of McMahon's multiple resignations amidst the accusations of sexual abuse. The biggest name of those is Janel Grant, whose lawsuit filing back in January directly led to McMahon completely exiting the company. A spokesperson for Grant has now told Post Wrestling that the producers did reach out to arrange an interview with her for the show, but it didn't come to fruition. Post Wrestling write that their source says she was actually approached multiple times, but she ultimately decided not to participate, suggesting the McMahon series will be willing to cover his most controversial stories, despite the WWE partnership starting in a matter of months. Now please go check us out over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk and watch my review of what might be the sickest pay-per-view ever.